Hello and welcome. This ambiance, as if you didn't catch the previous, is because our power is out. So it's been a little bit of a weird last few days. It seems like it's going to be about 40 hours in total if they bring the power back when they say that they will. It's been interesting because out in the country we don't even have water when the power's out. So I wanted to bring back, and we've got the Daily Dharma uploading right now, but there was something, whether it's a love story or a work story for you, a big shift, leveling up in the way that you perhaps view yourself, your resources, and your ability to have what it takes to accomplish this big change in your life. So I want to go in with a few other decks of cards, and my intention here is to do this as more of a love reading, but you can view this, if it resonates, as a story evolving in work. But just for simplicity, we're gonna see what wants to come out. We're starting with the archetypal deck here. See if anything wants to pop out about the individuals. And since we're going to do this with a love reading perspective, let's go ahead and look at influences regarding the viewer first and where you are at in this makeup. We'll take those. And this one on the bottom wants to pop out. On the bottom, we have the threshold. You are at the corner of your nest, thinking about jumping out and taking your first flight, perhaps in a long time, perhaps ever. And it's like, it almost appears as lava below to me. So maybe you are really nervous about this big step away from a comfort zone, away from the nest. Maybe you're leaving your hometown, or maybe you're young enough that this is the first time you'll be leaving your parents' home. Maybe for other individuals, this is selling a home, or somehow stepping forward in a very powerful way. And there's that little bit of fear threshold where we actually are doing that thing that we have long been envisioning and tossing around, but now is the time that we're actually going to be accomplishing this thing where we push beyond the limits of our comfort zone. The other three that came out face down are quite interesting as well. We have the bridge. So this can often depict the bridge between spirit and matter. But in the previous reading, you may want to check out the Daily Dharma for more messages if this resonates with you as well. We were talking about a telepathic bond that transcends time and space, and this may be somebody that you're karmically, dharmically connected with, that is a soulmate from lifetime to lifetime, that you're either ready to connect with in a deeper way or to meet for the first time. With that bridge, it's like you've been either dreaming about each other or dreaming about a circumstance, or envisioning or feeling that sense of anticipation, like something big is coming and you don't quite know what it is. But that anticipation can often be felt as a mixture of excitement and fear. So here we have Kairos. Kairos talks about the essence of time, timeless, remember we just said, and now it's like with that timing card in the center below the threshold and just to the right and lower than the bridge. It's like divine timing is at play here, where those individuals on either end of that manifestation bridge are drawing nearer and nearer to the time when the comfort zone is finally surpassed. The fear threshold no longer holds us back. And then when both individuals are in that sensation of the new, potentially that's when things are coming to be. thirdly, we have the mountain. The mountain often talks about the trials and tribulations and even the karma that we've had to overcome and work our way through in this lifetime. And maybe with some of that divine timing, there were different things that both individuals or multiple individuals related to this, friends, families, um, children, parents, have been influencing the situation on one side or the other. There's all of this also accumulated knowledge and experience that now the individuals here have within themselves. And this enables the timing to be right, where the individuals can now appreciate each other without being combative or not taking, or those people that would take something for granted until they had walked a mile in the shoes of, so to speak. So to understand something in a deeper way. Underneath the deck, we have apocalypsis. Incredible. It's like it feels like when we're standing at the edge of the nest and there's lava below. It's like that game that children play, like the floor is lava and they have to jump from furniture piece to furniture piece, and you can't touch the ground or else you sizzle. It's like looking down from that high point down at the ground as that little bird ready to fly, or the little child. It looks such a big, vast bridge to cross here. And even we can see this in between the two hands, like connecting across time and space here has been no small feat. That seems like a double meaning as well. Small feet, children, child. Um, Waiting until children were grown or wanting more children might be some evidence here in that timing card. Like maybe for some of you, this is like there's never the perfect time um, to jump into something or to jump out of something. When we're just waiting and waiting for things to be perfect, perfection doesn't happen. It's part of the illusion here. But I sense with this mountain card, somebody has been remaining kind of stuck in that mountain of either dissatisfaction or the mountain of the comfort zone, where they're not allowing themselves to have these new experiences, even though the heart compels them, even though the journey calls them. It's like this kaleidoscope moving, like that I'm seeing when I look at this card, like that dizzying feeling of looking down from super high up and having that essence of like, well, what if I fall? But what if you fly? That's what I'm feeling here. So I think that is where you are at. Now let's look at the object of your interest. Where is this individual or circumstance that you're calling in? Where does this come in? Oh, that was a lot of cards. We'll take a look at all of them. So under the deck, we have now the comic, which this individual maybe has a social platform or a social identity that is one of like friendliness and joking and lightheartedness, that actually is just more of a mask that is utilized to shelter and hide their deeper parts of themselves. Maybe they only come out into the social world with that mask on that says, oh, everything is awesome, everything's great, but at their depths, they're really dealing with something different. Or maybe that is evidence of their spiritual path is not publicized. And so there's that question mark there. So flipping upright is the temple with this prayerful nature at their core, wanting something to shift and change, with this judge, this black and white and two hands also. So the praying hands and the outstretched hands. That's so interesting. So take a look at this synchronicity now. So we've got the prayerful hands here in this corner, and then over here we have the outstretched hands. Interesting. So you have the outstretched hands. Maybe you've been more forthcoming, more available, um, more consistent, and this individual has gone within to ask for guidance because they've been perhaps even between a rock and a hard place here with something on their own where they couldn't understand, they couldn't judge for themselves what would be on the other side of that fear threshold here. And maybe they were stuck in a situation here that they couldn't find the way out of, and couldn't even perhaps understand what they wanted in a situation, perhaps because of this masking situation where their own authenticity was something that still had to be discerned and judged, and what they wanted. Which way do I want to go? Do I want this material path, or do I really want to take this mask off and be who I am at my core, loved for all that I am? And so they've been really praying and envisioning and getting to the bottom of this basis of the decisions they've needed to make in their life. Uh, Next, this one came out on its own upside down, the Bardo. This is talking about the liminal space, the what I would consider more like astral dreaming, but in this card it's depicted in such a dark ambiance here. Their cards are quite dark in general. It's like they have this all-seeing eye where they can see all of the pitfalls, they can see all of the possibilities, but they can't necessarily narrow down. They don't necessarily have the faith within themselves previously that has been able to lead them through this bardo. I almost want to read that for you in the apocalypsis. So this is quite a big stack. Let's just look at it. On the bottom, we have the lover. Beautiful. The self. Look at that illumination from within happening, lit up like that lover. I love it when those two come together. The fault line. I sense that this is their own self-judgment that said that they were only useful, available, lovable when they wore that mask. And the faults of others and the chasm that's been created between where they're at and where they want to be. So this is directly below the judgment card. Something they have judged in their life is no longer going to be able to continue. There's this rift that is being answered. Here we have the eternal child, their capacity to see behind the mask, to witness their own childlike essence. And remember, we just talked about children and small feet. So something about their own children, and maybe their children are mostly grown, but they still find them to be, they still want to take charge and be in charge of them and stuff, and to do their duty here. But there's this illumination from the center of the self as a lover. They're deepening that self-love with this praying for faith, prayerful stance, making the judgments about the unfulfilling nature of suppressing that self, coming into full alignment with the love of the self and forgiving their own faults, and witnessing that though it's something to do with the connection between the fault line and the inner child, the eternal child, where they have been conditioned in some capacity to be some type of a way from their childhood that has created this idea, this faulty idea, that they had to hide something within themselves. Maybe they had been pressured from a parent who lost a spouse at an early time in this person's life when they were a child. And then they had this duty to their parents, and now they have this duty to their children. You can take these messages as you will, but ultimately the inner child is really stepping forward and kind of stomping its feet, and it's like, but when is it my time to shine? When is it my time to be loved for who I am, to stop being taken for granted, and to be able to be who the hell I am here with that fault line? It's like, I know I'm not perfect, but I deserve better. So next, the mirror. Interesting. Looking into the mirror of those that are around them, and within the mirror of self, their influence on others and how they are getting their prayers answered or not based on their actions, their behaviors, and the actions and behaviors of others that have to do with them. So this mirroring, this duality aspect is, was I only being this mask because others made me feel that it was necessary? Is it not for me? Because it's usually not. It eclipses the self. And so we have all of these moon essences coming in again, coming through. They're seeing through something, seeing through the duality, seeing through the mirror of self, and perhaps even looking into the mirror literally at themselves and thinking, you're not happy. What comes next? And really investing something powerfully back into the core of self. You know, rebirthing that inner child. The cave, look at that. So this reminds me of this mountain, this withdrawal, this timing of being kind of amongst one's issues and the accumulated karma, and being able to really let things kind of lie where they will so that we can create an idea about them. And for this person, it looks like they may be doing some EFT tapping or otherwise, or, you know, something about pressure points, or just like, you know, maybe they work with their hands and they really need that hand massage, some real tension and soreness in the hands, affecting dexterity, carpal tunnel even coming forward. But there's this need to withdraw into the cave of self, to come into contact with the lover self, the eternal child, and the mirror of their experience here. Yes, so this is so gorgeous. So next comes the tear, as they're looking in this life review type of an essence, and look at what comes next, the mask. That's why we're talking about that comic here this whole time. Beautiful energy. So there's a sadness about the masks that they wear. Perhaps they're in an unfulfilling job, manifestation, relationship, or one that's deteriorated now based upon the appearances, based upon what they thought they were supposed to be doing, based upon other people's needs for them instead of their soul needs in a situation. That's the way I feel about that. So let's get a couple of oracle cards for each. Let's move back to your side, viewer, and see what whispers of the oracle. It says back on task. Okay. So getting back to a project that is important to you. I can't quite read this. Sorry here. Using your time in the best possible manner to prepare and to get back on task with something. There was something about this mountain here and the nest and preparation here, and preparation came through the previous reading. There's something about needing to cleanse and clear and get back to your true essence, and to keep on track with your manifestations, not only just in love, if that's what you're here for, but also in other regards. Because if we put all of our eggs in the basket of a partnership, that's literally the makings and the foundation for codependency. But if we maintain that we are complex individuals, that our well-being has so many facets and functions that are equally important to be kept in balance in our lives. It's also about having a fulfilling work career, having a health that helps us to feel good in ourselves and taking good care of our person, of our body. It's not all about appearances, although appearances have quite a huge impact on that reflected vision of who we are, how we are being taken in by other individuals in our lives, because these are others that are us. And if they don't believe in us, our belief in ourselves is paramount, but theirs subtly chips away at us. And so it's about being proud in our own skin. You know, there are those that choose not to comb their hair. I sometimes don't comb my hair because it gets all screwed up when I comb it. But others would be like, oh, that person does not comb their hair. They've got dreads, or they've got this, or it's frizzy or froey. Like, you know, I'm seeing that Olympian Simone Biles, and how somebody, I think, was picking on her about her hair. But, you know, they're vaulting through the sky and doing all these things. And her hair is her hair. It's who she is. It's part of the texture. And yeah, I mean, any of us, any person that goes vaulting through the sky is going to be disheveled, right? So it's about having a sense of healthy pride in that comes from knowing deeply within ourselves that we have the capacity and that we're utilizing that capacity, that we're plugged in and proud of the actions that we choose to take and those actions we choose not to take. That we witness that judgment, and it reinforces our self-belief, not in a crazy narcissistic way, but in the way that's like, yeah, well, they're entitled to their opinion, but this is the choice that's right for me. And so there's something here that's kind of gotten out of order. Might be your house, might be your dishes. I know right now, like, we're out of power. We've got food all over in coolers. We've got, you know, candles all over. I can't do the dishes. I can't do the laundry. You know, well, we can't really vacuum the floor well, but we do have one of those little roller vacuums, but it doesn't do the job. You know, so there's an accumulation of tasks or things that need our attention. And so don't find yourself just sitting around and waiting for somebody to come knock on your door. Um, but in the meantime, get yourself prepared, keep yourself on task, and keep your faith alive that you're doing this for yourself, for that healthy sense of self identity and self fulfillment, and that beautiful magical inner landscape. Underneath is disengage from outcomes. Yeah, so don't just put all your eggs in the basket of this romance is coming in. It's about whatever happens, I'm proud of myself. Whatever anybody else would throw at me for their own judgment, I'm okay. And if I think that this one individual is the love of my life and I approach them and they're not on the same um, timeline as me or whatever, if they're not that one for me, I trust that in time, that person, that thing is going to come in. So underneath the deck, shedding the old. So you need to maybe simplify, get rid of some old things, maybe belongings that don't suit you anymore, type of thing. Then we have gliding through the currents and convey your meaning. So gliding through the currents is all about, you know, the ups and downs of life. Don't let yourself get really drawn down. You know, even like right now, I had to put my phone on airplane mode. I had to charge it in the car charger. We have to use candles. You know, be flexible, because life is always going to be lifing, and people are always going to be peopling. And if we allow those things to get us down, then it's time to get back on task and say, yes, I can. And it might not be in the traditional manner, but we're flexible, we're magical. We have more options than are immediately realized by the habitual mind, by the comfort zone. So to convey your meaning, maybe even if you're approaching another individual, to properly convey our meaning um, will be something specific to you. But like in the in the context of visiting somebody, I think I said this in the previous and not in here, like if there's some type of like you're connecting with somebody across a professional counter, let's say somebody who's waiting on you, maybe coming in and just getting your service work done or your grocery shopping done or whatever it might be, is still ambiguous to this other individual. Even if you think you're being flirty, uh, not necessarily will that other individual be able to get it, especially if they're embroiled in this idea about who they're supposed to be for other people and wearing this friendliness mask, you know. And it's also sometimes like, um, you know, if that individual is just being friendly behind a mask, can we also ask them to convey their meaning some way? I'm not very slick. I don't have any any game, and so I don't know what to advise on here. But maybe there's a way to ask this individual in a non-creepy way, like, you know, like somebody had asked me one time, like, oh, blah blah blah, yeah, your husband probably, yeah, I'm not married. Well, your boyfriend then. I don't have a boyfriend. Even better was the response. And I took that as somebody who's like, oh great, they're scoping me out to see if I'm available. And so following that, I did hit on and ask this individual out, and then they told me they had somebody at home. Well, at least they were honest at that point, right? But then me standing in my energy, I said, all right, great. But I didn't let that influence, I didn't let that dissuade me from going and continuing to patron their business, you know? And so I didn't let that interfere or make me feel any type of way, because this individual was checking me out. They were asking me if I had a partner, you know? And so I took it at face value. I shot my shot and it bounced off the rim. And so, you know, if you're asking for clarity in that way, you know, don't let it get under your skin, because maybe it's just the outcome is not right now. But, you know, then we can be friends, we can be professionals, you know. It doesn't have to it doesn't have to hold me down. And so shedding the old also has to do with previous redirections and rejections, or even people that ghosted, people that abandoned, or when we've broken up with individuals and become, I'm hearing disenfranchised, or um, left feeling like, oh, there's all people are like this, that, um, you know, feeling like everything is spoiled. We need to shed those old limiting beliefs of what's out there for us. So, all right, let's move into the object of your interest energy here. Some popping off. Popping off. Maybe somebody's having some type of argument. Let's see what this is. Every step counts. So there are advantages to taking things slowly. Breathe deeply and fully as you consider your options. We were talking about that. And I think this is an anemone. Is that what you call that? Sea anemone? And then childlike devotion. That's beautiful, with this eternal child. So they're in a state right now where they need to really take stock of everything around them. They really need to get back into taking steps towards what is going to suit and serve them. They've been living their life for other people, and that is something that has got to change. They're recognizing this, and they're redevoting their energy to their childlike essence. And in that process, if you were to interrupt that, I sense that there would be a lot of immaturity stepping forward. There would be a lot of um, there'd be a lot of drama and inconsistency, instability, because they're in that time of transition. Not to downplay any transition that you're going through, but this individual really has to get down to business on what does their childlike essence want. facing your fears is where they're at here too. So look for ways to strengthen the connection to the universe and to others. Stay peaceful and calm in the knowing of who you are. So they're really rediscovering all that they are at this point. So let's just get a couple for the overall for you. Any last minute advice for the viewer in dealing with this situation? Okay. There isn't a soul on the planet who doesn't crave your approval. The only difference between a friend and a foe is that you've decided where love can grow. The universe. So, yeah, maybe friend, colleagues, work dynamics, and recognizing that there's an attraction is something like love is in the eye of the beholder here. So this individual, especially with this mask essence, really wants to know that that you are interested in more than just what they provide, more than what they can do for you. You know, maybe they're used to people coming up and just being real surface with them, real objectified with themselves. And maybe it's time for you to, instead of being like, hey, you want to go out, being like, I really appreciate your knowledge of such and such, and I have a lot of respect for you with the way that you have done this or that. Getting into the depths of appreciation for what you see in a person's character, which is somewhat beyond the mask. You needn't worry. Everything's in good timing. And if you've ever suddenly found yourself being and have been loved by someone amazing, awesome, fun, and fantastic, chances are astronomical you will again. If you haven't yet found such a person, chances are astronomical that you will. It's up to you, the universe. And splitting the deck, you have more options than you realize. We already said that. And everyone is doing their best. So don't be caught up in appearances or distance right now. There's a little bit more timing at play, at work and at play, to bring you guys into resonant alignment. So don't get caught up in anxiety, worry, or fear, because law of attraction says wherever our attention is going rampant will be what manifests. So instead, it's not about that person. It's not about codependent energy, about this relationship, this one person. It's about what else, what other options, what other health, what other self-development can we do to honor ourselves while we wait? And while we self-develop, we are getting bigger, better, more confident, more aware. Our love quotient is increasing, and we are more and more attractive and more compelling and aware. So I think that that's where we're literally at right now. If this resonated with you, do perhaps consider hitting some of those buttons for us to help get the messages out and to help us grow the channel too. I appreciate you guys tuning in and checking into these messages. All are intended to be timeless. So if you're looking for more, check out some of the other things back in the videos. And otherwise, take good care of yourselves. Love yourself completely as you get yourself balanced out. And until next time, folks, take really good care of yourselves.